topic. Go ahead, Crystal.
Good morning,
Good morning,
everyone.
everyone.
As he said, my name's Crystal Powers. I'm an extension engineer in the Biological Systems Engineering Department there on campus at UNL. Looks like we need to get back to the start of the presentation. Give me just a minute. There we go. All right, so basically what I want to do is give a real quick update on a new tool that was completed the end of last year that's now available for everyone to check out and use if it's something that will be helpful for your operation. I was part of the development team on this tool, which we ended up calling the National Air Quality Site Assessment Tool, or NAQSAT for short. Basically what our goals were that we know producers have been under increasing pressure to mitigate those different emissions. Some of that comes from regulatory aspects, as many of you might be familiar with new CERCLA and EPCRA rules. There's the air monitoring study, which just wrapped up last year. And then also we just have a lot of neighbors, and we want to try to be good neighbors for those who might not be as welcoming of odors as others. And secondly, a lot of the strategies to really try to reduce these air quality concerns are pretty expensive. And so we really wanted to help producers identify where they could have the biggest bang for their buck on their operation. And we knew that there was a lot of difference between different operations, so we wanted to figure out how we could develop a tool that would help producers make these very site-specific decisions. So where we kind of started is we wanted to address the major livestock species in the U.S., so we ended up with a dairy, swine, beef, and then 3 different types of poultry operations are available to use in the tool. And then we ended up splitting it up into 8 different management areas on the farm. And so for those of you who are strictly land applicators, you can just complete the land application portion of this. Or if you have a full operation and you'd like to take a look at all the different areas on your farm, you can go ahead and complete all or just some of these categories. And we for sure wanted to make sure that this was something that was available for free so that it would be easily adopted and make it as easy to fill out as possible. We know everyone's quite busy, and so we don't want it to take too much time or be too complicated, but still be able to address the concerns specific for each operation. And then we wanted it to be able to tie in with, there's a lot of really great air quality resources already available, and we wanted to make sure that this was something that was compatible with the existing tools that are already out there. So when you get to the end, it looks at 6 different emissions categories. You can see across the top of the screen there. We've got odor, dust, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, methane, and volatile organic compounds. And I know here in Nebraska, a lot of those are not currently hot topics, but they are in other parts of the country. So we wanted to make sure that they were all represented, and then you can just look at the ones that are specific for your concerns at your operation. And how we ended up doing it is we have questions that pop up the following questions are dictated by how you answer the previous questions so that we can get at that site-specific ability and also keep it so that you're not answering extra questions that don't relate to your operation. Oftentimes we wanted to use pictures to make sure that it was consistent results. Everyone's definition of what is clean can be a little bit different. So we just decided to go with pictures to try to have some clarity in all the responses. It has the ability to save your responses, so you can come back to it for up to 30 days. And if you want to come back to it later than that, it'll allow you to print off how you answered all the questions and your results. And this is what your results end up looking like. This is an example where it shows all the categories down the left-hand side with the different air quality constituents up across the top. And each box kind of gives you a real quick visual of the more green, the better. The green shows you the percentage of management and technology that are working well on an operation, and the white box shows you how much room for improvement you have within that given category. So the idea is that you can real quickly scan over it and see where you're doing well and where you might want to improve. For example, on this one, their land application, they're really not doing a lot of the management and technology options that could help improve air quality concerns across the board. So some things that the tool doesn't do is it doesn't actually estimate emissions, which we thought was a good route to go. One, because we don't have all the science in yet, and also it's not that keeps it non-quantitative, so it's not easily used for regulatory purposes. We really wanted this to be a tool for use on farm. And then you also can't compare the score from one operation to your neighbor down the road. And part of that is because we don't have an overall score, it's just category by category. And there are several things that we did want it to be able to do. Like I said, with those bars, it shows you a percent of the best possible management that's going on in a given operation. It helps producers hopefully assess their current situation, which hopefully will give you some satisfaction that you're doing a lot of things right on your operation. And then in those areas where there is some room for improvement, it can help direct your decisions for the future. Either look for management changes, or when you're ready to look at some capital improvements, maybe help you focus in on where those would be most valuable. One of the other things that we really wanted it to be able to do is kind of be able to compare different mitigation practices. Oftentimes with these practices, there can be trade-offs that when you address one air quality concern, it might increase another. And we wanted it to be able to be something that you could use proactively to really look at how can I best address these concerns? Maybe, give something to show your neighbors how well you are doing on an operation. So just a little bit more on trade-offs, because we thought this was pretty critical, was that we wanted to be able to check different scenarios to see how changing one practice might lead to a challenge in another, and I've got an example of that here. And how we allow you to do this is that along the bottom there's a place where you can say copy your session, and basically what that does is it copies all the answers you've put in and gives you a separate link so that you can put that up in one screen of your computer and then start a new one in a separate screen. And both of those will be saved for 30 days. So here's one quick example of how this works. Is this producer wants to look at how can I reduce dust. And so their idea was, well, a lot of that dust is probably coming off my roads. So let's look at spraying it with water from my holding pond. So in their first example, they weren't doing anything to change dust. And you can see they've got, well, I shouldn't say they weren't doing anything. They've got just a small percentage of the options that they can be doing to reduce dust. So in the second example, you can see they improved their dust score. However, if you look over here at odor, they caused a lot of problems, possibly with odor coming off. That holding pond water has some odor to it, and when you start spraying it across wide areas of the farm, this could cause some odor problems. So they want to look at another thing that they could do with their roads. So they go back to the question about surfacing their roads. Previously, they just had dirt roads on their operation, and they decided to look at the difference that graveling those roads would make. So here, if you look at your particulate matter score, this made an even bigger difference in the dust coming off of an operation, while not having an impact on odor. So this is just an example of how you can use a tool to go back and look at some different options. Like I said, you can do this within all the categories, including just looking specifically at the land application category. So here's a front page of the tool with the website listed. Thanks, Leslie, for typing it into the chat box. This is a totally free site. It runs online, so there's nothing to download, and you can just work through it from the web. Within that, there's additional resources that you can use if you need more help with the tool. There's a link to lots of publications and other existing tools from across the nation. So if you've got some specific concerns, you can look through those and see if there's something in ammonia or dust, specific publications that you'd like to look at. And then there's a list of state contacts, which I'm on this list. If you have further questions, you can contact me. My email's on there. Or if you're working in Iowa, there's several extension personnel listed there, or any other state that you might happen to be working in. So if you'd like more information on how to use that tool, you can go into the Livestock and Poultry Environmental Learning Center, and we did some webinars similar to this one. They go into a little bit more detail on some of the different options you can look at. So those webinars are archived on the Livestock and Poultry Environmental Learning Center website, as well as any of those additional resources within the tool. So with that, I'll close up and see if there's any quick questions. Otherwise, thank you for your time. Have a good rest of your day.